So the first video that we're going to start with is all about the lift. Now, there's several different styles of spey casting, like there's Skagit, Scandi, long belly, Fulcrum casting, all of those different things. But what we have to remember is that good casting is good casting. And there's a couple things that the best casters in the world have in common, no matter what style they're using. And that's the lift and the D-loop anchor. Those are the two most important parts of the cast. And if you have a bad lift, you're very unlikely to have a good cast. So if you pay more attention to your lift and the D-loop and anchor, you're going to be more successful in the long run. This applies more to floating lines than it does to sink tips. For that situation, you know, it'd be a different story. But again, the way that you lift and then get the line to move for you, that's the important part. So you can see my line is all kind of squiggly there. If I just try and make a cast, I'm not very successful. I don't have control of the line. The lift should give you control of the line so that you can easily make the rest of the cast. It doesn't matter what cast you do, there has to be a lift. I can do a snap T, I have to do a lift. Snake roll, lift. Single spey, lift. That's what gives you control of your line, gives you tension. Tension is what makes your spey cast. So the lift is all about making the line easy to manipulate. If your line is on the water, you've got like water tension, so you have a million hands holding that line and it's hard to move it. So the lift is what releases the line off of the water so that we can easily just do a movement like that and move 100 feet of line. But there's a certain way to do it. So we're going to go through a few different scenarios of different ways that people teach the lift. And then we will talk about what I like, which is what I like to call, well, I don't call it fulcrum casting, but that's what I'm trying to do anyway. It's something that's very popular for competition type casting, but I've adapted it into a fishing situation also. So I find it very, very effective because you keep maximum tension more so than the other types of lifts and movements into the D-loop. So yeah, we're gonna take a look at some of these. So the most important thing to remember before you even start your lift is that your hips and your body are facing where you want to cast to. So you might think that you're facing where you want to cast to, but right now my hips, like if I want to cast there, the only way I can truly see for myself which way my hips are facing is if I put my feet together. That doesn't lie. And from this point, the way I cast, I put my right foot forward, and now I know for certain I'm facing where I want to cast to. So I'll be picking up from here, and then I'll naturally turn to where I want to cast to. Very important. So the first one we're going to look at is what's commonly called the Fulcus lift. And this lift is, you know, prescribed to a lot of beginners, as it's an easy way to get the line moving. The Fulcus cast, you're kind of lifting straight up, and then you're going across this way, and then you're looping around with your top hand and out. So lift this way, and then loop around and out. So now we're going to look at the shotgun lift. So it's both hands going up in the air and then going into your cast. To me, this is a much more efficient version than the first lift. You're lifting straight up and then pulling the line around and out. So the third one we're going to look at is my preference, my personal preference, and it's something that I've been taught several times over the years, and I kind of figured it out. It took me a long time to get it proper, and it's part of, you know, what might be commonly referred to as fulcrum casting. So instead of lifting up, I'm lifting up but moving the rod tip across to where I want to cast to. So I call it lifting to target. And you have to remember, one of the most important things with your lift is not to do this. Because as soon as you put the rod tip in the air, you have no control over what's happening. But if I keep the rod tip in front of me, then I move a whole bunch more line. So it's much easier to manipulate that line like we want to. So I'll get it downstream. My hips facing where I want to cast to. You're lifting across and out. And if you watch my rod tip, I'm lifting to there. And that's where I want to cast to. So the thing about this lift is that you get max tension and you use the rod to its full capabilities, because you're not pulling to get the line around like you do with the other casts. You're just lifting, and then you're going into your D loop. So it essentially makes it a switch cast. So what I want to emphasize is that no matter what cast you're doing, there has to be a lift. You have to lift the line off the water so that it's easy to move. Whatever lift you choose to use, is that you should have a nice, smooth, and slow lift. And you'll have to adjust for different variables when you're on the water in a fishing situation. So if you're in really riffly water, you'll have to lift the rod probably higher. And same thing as if you're wading deeper. But if you're in a nice smooth area and you're, you know, knee deep, you won't have to lift as high. So you have to remember those variables are important. And a nice slow lift is what gives you control.